What's up, horror fam?
You know what time it is.
Let's get into this. All right. What's up? What's up, horror fam?
What are you guys doing tonight?
The Horror Chronicles podcast is back at it again. Your boys Ryan and JT in the house.
Yeah.
And tonight we are talking about some possession stories. Legit possession stories,
yes.
too. Ones on the books, we will say.
Yeah, if you guys caught our last episode, we talked about possessions, what they are, how they originated. Well, somewhat, you know. We basically explained the premise behind spirit possessions.
Some different types.
And, yeah, the different types of possessions and the different levels of possession. Right. We talked about all that stuff, and tonight we're actually going to get into a couple different actual possession cases.
And who knows? One of us.
Who knows where that's going to go?
One of us might be possessed when we leave.
I'm already possessed.
That's something else we got.
I'm possessed by the spirit of metal. Metal.
So that's something we gotta watch what we say for the first, like, if we're gonna do anything on it, we gotta watch.
What we say. We're good, man.
We're Christian. Good. We're Christian on a cruise ship right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tame myself a little bit for the first 5 minutes.
Probably not.
10 minutes now.
Probably not.
But anyways, guys. So yeah, we're gonna talk about some specific cases of possession tonight that are on the book, so to speak. I actually watched some pretty cool. Have you ever seen the Vatican tapes?
No.
So I watched that. Interesting. And then I watched. There was another. It was a bunch of YouTube clips from this show, and they had the interviews with the an exorcist from the Vatican.
Okay.
And they interviewed him on a bunch of different things. They interviewed a cop who dealt with someone who was possessed.
It's funny. I never really thought about that, but I wonder how often they run into that.
Right, exactly.
We need to talk to DA about that.
Let me turn this down. Yeah, I thought I had already done it.
Turn that off.
I thought you know what? Oh, I can't turn it off. I'm at work still, technically.
No, don't turn that off. Oh.
But anyways, guys.
He's screwing off at work.
Yeah, I'm getting paid. Getting paid in the shade, baby.
So we're just going to tell a couple stories. We're going to talk about some movies. We're just going to ramble on here.
Yes. Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple, specific individual possession stories that you guys have probably heard of. Maybe. Maybe not.
The one I'm doing, you should know, but you may not. So I'm going to give you the lowdown on it.
Yeah.
But as we're getting started here, I do want to mention the first known case of possession was in what was it, 1556?
Yeah, 1556.
I'm sorry. It was the lady was born in 1556. The actual case was in 1578. 1578.
15, yo.
I was like 7. But anyway, this is one of the first known actual cases that the Catholic Church was involved in, and it was a woman. Her name was Martha Brossier, I think. Brossier. She was a French woman known for claiming demonic possession at the age of 22. Martha was the daughter of a weaver in
Weaver.
I don't even know what that is. Romorantin? I don't know. Who claimed to have been demonically possessed, drawing considerable notoriety. The case was interpreted as fraud by Charles Mirren, who was the bishop of, it was either the Diocese of Angers or the Diocese of Orleans. So they claim it was a fraud, but it's still one of the first recorded cases of possession. And we all know that there's some fraud in there. And the story that I've got tonight kind of deals with, not necessarily the fraudulent nature of it, but what could actually be going on in these possessions.
Correct.
But we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting because like whenever most people talk about, possessions, it's always a religious thing, usually, but
where you got caught with some weed by the cops.
Yeah, I'm possessed, man. No, but honestly, possessions aren't necessarily just a religious thing. Well, not into the Catholic or Christian religion anyway.
Right.
There's a lot of different possessions in a bunch of different areas, like we talked about in our last episode with the Native Americans.
Yeah, because there's so many different. It's not just Catholicism. I mean, it's in Buddhism, voodoo,
everywhere.
It's everywhere. But the only people that really didn't believe too much in possession was Native Americans,
right?
Which is really weird because they always believed that they had a spirit animal.
Well, and here that's what I was getting at. They didn't believe in what this definition of possession is. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a. I mean, it's more of, like you said, it's like a skinwalker type situation, which gets into cryptids and things, which we love to talk about. But that's not what we're talking about tonight.
Skinwalker. I wonder if you could circumcise that if it went away.
Skin smoker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Son of a bitch. I guess we're no longer going to be monetized.
Nope. No, we're not anyway. So what's it matter at this point?
Jesus Christ.
But maybe someday.
Someday
my love will come.
What do you want to go into first here?
So either way, you want to go first, and
we can,
and then we'll end out with this one.
We can,
because we both know a lot about this one,
right?
So.
Well, everybody should.
Yeah.
But this one here that I got, it was an interesting case to me. I looked into, and this one is from 1842, which wasn't not as far back as 58 or whatever that was, but 1842 is kind of far back there, and this was in Germany, and this is the story of Gottlieben Ditis, and yes, that is Gottlieben.
Say that 5 times fast.
Gottlieben Ditis. But that's
sounds like I got diabetes.
Little diabetes. No, so Gottlieben Ditis in 1842 Germany. This is a woman who's basically I guess you would consider her a adopted child, but she was basically adopted or at least brought in by her older brother. So both her parents died, and they had a bunch of kids, but the oldest brother brought them in to live with them, and 2 other siblings. Now, from the beginning, when they moved into this like rundown place. It's 1842 in Germany, so I mean, you can put your guesses on what it was like then.
Right.
But they moved into this broken down, ran down shack type housing apartments. Actually apartments. And from the day one, they claimed that the house was haunted. This is a very poor family, and they moved in February of 1840. Okay. The family heard noises and feet moving through the house, as if someone else was in the house. And you got to think about it, guys. Back during this time, there was no electricity. There was no especially where they lived at.
Right.
There was nothing there to cover up the noises.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when we're sleeping, there's so much stuff going on, and we hear shit all night. Your refrigerator's running. You're freaking, yeah, you hear the air come on, all this stuff. Yeah. Back then, you heard everything.
Or you're laying on the floor outside your parents' bedroom. No.
You fucking weirdo. But anyways, so they're hearing these noises all through the house. Even the neighbors heard the noises, right? But the neighbors, the people at this time, they like to keep to themselves. They didn't want to get involved in it. They heard noises, they heard things going on, but they didn't want to talk, especially to outsiders. You're not going to want to go to outsiders and talk to outsiders. We don't have that much anymore. A lot of people like to say too fucking much.
Yeah.
People don't understand, like, keep mind your business. But anyways, so like I said, the neighbors heard about it. They didn't really like talking to outsiders about it, so it didn't really get spread that much yet. But I'm just gonna call her Gotti. No.
Do it.
Gottlieben. So Gottlieben, she felt that there was an influence in the house immediately. Her personality changed and was like completely different when they moved into this place. She was more of a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not recluse, but a not so promiscuous girl, I guess you would say. Before she moved in the house, and then after she moved in the house, it was a different story. She was very different, put it that way. And this, in autumn of 1841, after all this stuff had been happening, the noises, her feeling like she's starting to become possessed by something, she ends up contacting John. How you pronounce his name? John. Johann Christoph Blumhard, who was the pastor of a town, basically. And she came to find him because she felt as if she was, coming under the influence of something. A few months in December, after she had, came in contact with Blumhard, and he had been coming to kind of talk to her and feel things out with the family and this and that, she got very ill. And I say ill with quotation marks. I think at this point in time, this is when the possession really started to take over. And Blumhard, along with a doctor, would come over, and he would pray for her and stuff like that. And the doctor would check her and just make sure she's okay, because she was supposedly ill.
Sicko.
But eventually, Blumhard would stop coming over for a while, because he did not like coming over, because he felt like she was just giving in, and that she was very vulgar and possessed. We've all seen The Exorcist. We kind of know what it was like. So in younger people, it's, for some reason, demons seem to be very promiscuous, whatever you want to say. But anyways, so she Blumhard stopped coming because he was like, she was. I knew you were gonna do that. He stopped.
You want it like this? You like it like that?
Let me get this crucifix. Anyways,
they call that a Bible thumper.
Sorry, guys.
And we're done.
For all of our Christian folks out there, we apologize. Lord, I apologize. Be the starving pygmies down in New Guinea. Anyways, guys, so the the pastor stopped coming over, and because he felt like he was a waste of his time, and she was just ignoring him, and she was just getting more and more down, being vulgar, all this other stuff. So he felt that she was I don't even know what the word to use, like a disgrace, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So she kept in contact with Blumhard. The family did too. But and mind you guys, she wasn't the only person seeing these things. The neighbors were, the family was. So, it's not like it was just her.
There's definitely something going on.
Right, yeah. Right. So, you will see too that, so she said that she had been seeing a woman at the foot of her bed who was carrying a baby. Right? And the woman looked all kind of decrepit kind of and stuff like that. The baby was a dead baby. And the woman that was holding the dead baby was a woman who had died 2 years earlier.
Wow.
So she kept seeing this, and she was talking about how sometimes the woman would go from the front of the bed, she would see her, and she'd be closer and closer and closer with the dead baby. So they got back in touch with Bloomhart and stuff like that, and they're trying to get basically a priest there to help maybe calm things down and whatnot. So they end up doing like an excavation, I guess you would say, of the building.
Okay.
So they dug up this hole, they dug the hole in the flooring and stuff like that, and they dug up to see what's going on. They found a bunch of like trinkets and body part or bones.
Okay.
And things like that.
Buried underneath the house?
Yeah, like nickel and like just little things here and there. So basically, but what they considered it was that it was witchcraft. They're saying that it was some kind of witchcraft.
Like Tisha B'Av.
Yeah. Is it black magic is what they called it. They found lots of like just, trinkets, I guess you would call them.
Yeah.
Considered to be black magic, used in black magic. Now at this time, people had been hearing about what was going on there from all over the place. So now people were traveling.
So now people are coming to the house.
Yes, now people are traveling and coming to the house and seeing what was going on. Now the thing about this one is that she didn't really get too bad as far as a possession would be. It was more of I guess you would say I say that, but hell, honestly, it was really bad considering the time. And what's crazy about this is at one point in time, she had claimed that there was over 400 different demons or entities coming through her body.
Wow.
Right? Which is interesting because she talked about it and eventually she just got better and they moved her out of the area and everything, and it kind of went away, but people were still coming from all over to see the house and hear, because you can still hear things going on. So people would pay to stay the night in the house.
Wow.
And this is an 18
kind of stuff happens now.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is in 1840.
Sounds like some shit we'd do.
Yeah, exactly. But
honestly.
So she eventually, like I said, the claim that this is what kind of got me to want to talk about this specific one. The claim of like 400.
That's a lot.
It's one of those things where for me, do I believe in the possession thing? 100%. Maybe is she pushing it, stretching it because trying to get more attention from people coming in. And
400, I bet she's stretching it.
There's no more to stretch. Shit. There's no reason.
Oh, shit. I think I watched that movie. Wait.
It's called The Road to 500.
Woo.
And that's why we don't have a good
scene.
No, but they moved her out and they did these exorcism things, and this had gone on for like 2 years. So this one had me questioning a few things, but most of it seemed pretty legit. I mean, there was a lot of witnesses, people that heard things. People were evidently coming around from everywhere, all kinds of different towns and countries to come see what was going on at this house. So, I mean, something had to have happened, you know. And Bloomhart wrote a book later on about it, and he just, you know, he wasn't very like nice, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
about the whole thing, you know. But he looks like a douche. No,
He does look a little pompous.
but yeah, that's the story of Gottlieb, and I mean, you know, it's just one of those things that I think it started off and it ended very true, but I think that as most things do, sometimes people push it far as they can, bleed it dry, so to speak.
Right.
You know, the 400 kind of just
that's a lot. That's a big number to swallow.
You know,
I mean,
and for me to believe that she, because I think the most I've ever really heard, I mean, granted, we know We Are Legion, we know that,
right.
but like, you know, there was only what 20, like the original Fallen Angels were like what 20 something, or like 20 something. Yeah, there was.
I don't even remember.
I watched the thing
number
earlier about the Paramount sign.
Yeah.
The Paramount,
yeah.
With the 27, yeah.
So
So
that'd be a good thing to get into. All those weird,
yeah, but then that's gonna be another episode getting taken down.
Movie theater thing or movie production company.
That's gonna be another episode that gets taken down magically a year later for no reason at all. But anyways, so that was the story of her of Gottliebenitis, and I think it's mostly believable. Like I said, there's a lot of other people who heard it and seen it, and people come over from all over the place to stay in the place and you know, pay to live to stay the night there and stuff like that. So I think that for the most part, I believe everything, except it's just there's some things that are questionable to me. But if you're not asking questions, you're not learning.
Right.
So,
right. I mean, and there's questionable stuff in all of those.
Right. 100%. 100%. You know, it's cool because it came from such a long time ago, and from Germany, you know, different country. And for some reason, I don't know, it seems like it seems like when there's a foreign freaking demon or something, it's always scarier to me. I mean, it's not really scary, but it's just it's different for me for some reason. I don't know why. Because America's so young, it really shouldn't even matter, honestly. Yeah. But the land's old.
Oh yeah.
That's what really matters.
You know, and it's funny because there's a lot of stuff happens over there that, you know, when you look at some of those old places, you know, we've talked about that numerous times. You know, you get over to Scotland and Ireland, they got these old castles and crick yards, you know, which is what they call some of their graveyards. You know, there's got to be something in the land, and we've talked about that all the time, that it's not just a house or, you know, a person. It can be the land that's gone bad.
It's land gone bad.
Land ho!
It's land gone bad. The Indians knew it. That's why they quit using it.
Yeah. You're right.
To quote one of my favorites.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man.
Anyways, I thought that was a good one.
Cool,
it was an interesting one to me. You know, I like the fact that this showed automatically that they brought in doctors and a priest, which they used to do all the time.
Well, and it's funny because now, like, for the longest, ever since they started, you know, since the Catholic Church started the rite of exorcism, it was always mandatory that the patient, I guess is what you would call them, they would have to see a doctor and a psychiatrist before the church would approve an exorcism. So, and it's good that they do that because there's so much mental issue with people that, you know, it may not be a possession.
Especially nowadays,
you know,
it
could be other things. And back then, we didn't really know a lot about the brain, and we still don't know a whole lot about it, but we know more about, mental issues and distress,
man.
and
But you know what?
depression and different stuff like that.
You know what's crazy though, man? It's like, to me, I'm not seeing a difference in, like, my thing is like, yeah, our brain works a certain way,
Right.
but maybe that's how. So we talk about like how they feed off of energy. They need energy. That's where that fucking energy's coming from, is your brain.
Right.
You know, so like, maybe it's not one or the other. Maybe it's both.
Good possibility.
Do you know what I mean?
Good possibility.
Maybe it's both. Because if you think about it, like, just because they're saying, like, I don't know, if someone's, it sounds weird, but just hear me out. If someone is on drugs, very bad, like bad enough on drugs, they do some crazy shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They make them look like they're possessed.
Yeah. Well, look at what was going on with
that Flocka.
Well, there was, I don't.
Do you remember that shit?
People doing bath salts or something.
Yeah, the guy ate the guy's face.
The guy ate the dude's face off.
But have you seen that Flocka shit? The dude's like running through the butt naked, and he's running through this fucking parking garage, and then he's jumped straight through the back window of a fucking SUV, just straight into the glass, and just jumped straight through, all fucking just bloody. And he's like, and like, there's a video of a fucking lady in front of a bus at night in the middle of the city, and the bus is trying to make a right-hand turn, and she's just standing there. And she's just standing there, and she's staring at the bus, and then she starts headbutting the fucking glass in the bus. It's fucking like they're possessed.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So they're under the influence of a drug.
Right.
But instead of drug, put spirit, whatever you want to call it, demon, is they're under the influence of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, it's kind of, that's the thing. I don't think it's one or the other. I mean, it could be both. It could be, but it could also just be two. You know, it could be both of the things happening at once.
Right.
Like we talked about. You know, a spirit or a demon? What's it going to fucking feed on? Something that's like me and you. You know, we're kind of strong willed. We're good in life. We're doing good in life. We're not really too worried about too much. So we're not. We don't have that. But someone's depressed already. Someone.
I mean, I could go for it. I could use some new friends in my life.
It's the ones in my head. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's necessarily. I think it's a good question to ask. A good thing for them to research and look into.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's one. Maybe those cases, and this one here you're getting ready to talk about.
It's a big one.
Is a perfect example
of
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the case, the actual trial, the movie really put it out there in a cool way.
Right.
So
yeah, what Ryan's talking about is the Annalise Mitchell case. It's very interesting. We both picked a case from Germany.
Yeah.
So the Annalise Mitchell case happened in Germany in 1968, and for those of you that you know, or you may not know, this case was the basis for the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Great movie.
And fantastic movie. Jennifer Carpenter, fantastic in that. I don't know how she contorted her body in some of those ways.
It was really cool.
But she did.
She did awesome.
She did an awesome job in that. So, Anna Elizabeth Mitchell was born on September 21st of 1952 to Joseph and Anna. They were from Leidenfing, Bavaria, which is in West Germany. She and three of her sisters were raised Roman Catholic. That's a big thing here. Honestly, I'm going to stop right here. One of the things that we talked about on our last episode was a lot of these big cases. The thing that we had noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, but when we were doing research for our last episode, we had noticed that a lot of the bigger cases that are more well-known, I guess, these families were highly religious.
Correct.
And this one is no different. And it could actually explain a few things. We talked about that in the episode about how, it can sway the way a person is and how they would view what's going on as a possession. But anyway, the family was extremely religious and attended mass twice a week. So Annalise, when she was 16, which was in 1968, she had a severe convulsion and was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy. So they took her to the doctor and they ran some tests on her, and this doctor determined that she had epilepsy, and that was the cause of her convulsions. So they put her on all this medication and trying to control these epileptic fits,
Right.
and stuff. So she took these drugs for several years, and she didn't really have that many issues at first, but she had a couple instances. She actually, in June of 1970, she had a third seizure. And what they ended up doing was they prescribed her an anticonvulsive med, which they thought would help her with this stuff. She claimed she was seeing things that were not there, including devil-like faces, different things in the shadows, and she was even starting to hear voices. So eventually, they ended up putting her on a medication that was used to treat schizophrenia. And it continued. The medications, it's really weird when you look at some of these medications. People that have a disorder, they they prescribe medications, and some of the medications can have some severe side effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then others, some can help, some make it even worse.
Well, some of them can. If you think about what goes on, like just with like psychedelics or anything else,
Right.
it opens up a different part of your brain.
Yeah.
Or it shuts down a different part of your brain.
Right.
So
by 1973, Annalise began experiencing depression, and she started having hallucinations. And these hallucinations were really bad, especially while she was praying. She would tend to see things more while she was in prayer, talking to God. She began complaining about hearing voices telling her she was damned and would rot in hell. So she tells her parents about this, and of course they keep talking to these doctors, and nobody can seem to figure out what's wrong with her. The treatments aren't helping at all. She became intolerant of Christian symbols and sacred places. She got to the point where just seeing like coins with saints on them would just infuriate her and drive her mad. She eventually visited a place called San Damiano with a family friend, and this friend had talked about how she couldn't even walk past like a crucifix. And she refused to. They apparently had a spring there that they claimed was holy water coming out of the spring. It was a natural spring. She refused to drink water from this spring. It's very interesting. While she was there, she met. There was a priest there, and his name was Father Ernst Alt. And he had said that Annalise told me and Frau Hein, who I would assume is the friend she was with, Frau Hein confirmed this, that she was unable to enter the shrine. She approached it with the greatest hesitation, then said that the soil burned like fire and she simply could not stand it. She then walked around the shrine in a wide arc and tried to approach it from the back. She looked at the people who were kneeling in the area surrounding the little garden, and it seemed to her that while praying, they were gnashing their teeth. She got as far as the edge of the little garden, then she had to turn back. Coming from the front again, she had to avert her glance from the picture of Christ. There was a picture on the chapel wall, and she couldn't even look at it. She made it several times to the garden, but could not get past it. She also noted that she could no longer look at medals or pictures of saints. They sparkled so immensely that she could not stand it.
And that was a quote from the father.
That was a quote from the father that we found on the internet. Father Alt ended up urging the local bishop for an exorcism, but was denied. They didn't
Right.
They didn't want to get involved in it because they didn't believe that she was possessed. They thought that something was going, there was something else going on there. And back then, and I never ran into this information, but I don't know that they had really contacted, like the Vatican.
Right.
Had they contacted a doctor and a psychiatrist to talk to her? I don't know. I never could find that information.
I doubt it.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But either way, the Vatican denied his right of exorcism for this girl. The parents were adamant that there was something wrong with her, that she was possessed by some sort of demon or something. In September of 1975, so this all happened, a few years prior. So in September of 1975, Bishop Joseph Stange granted Father Arnold Renz permission to perform an exorcism. The first session was performed on September 24th of 1975. Now, this started in 68. We're talking 7 years later that they're finally, and they're doing this, just because somebody has forced their hand. They have to try something because medical intervention is not working at this point.
Right.
So the parents are adamant that it's possession, but the church is still kind of like, we don't know. So the first session was September 24th of 1975. It ran for 10 months. They did a total of 67 exorcisms on this girl. In the 10-month period of time, she had withered away. She got to the point where she wouldn't eat. They would have to force feed her. She wouldn't drink. They'd have to give her, force her water. And then at the end of this 10 months, sadly, on July 1st, 1976, Annalise died in her home. The official cause of death was malnutrition and severe dehydration caused by almost a year of near starvation while performing the exorcisms. She weighed only 66 pounds.
Holy shit.
When she died. So you would think, okay, that's a crazy story, but that's not the end of the story. If you've seen the movie, you know that there's charges involved. There's a trial. So basically what they ended up doing was they ended up charging the priests and the parents for her death. And they charged them with negligent homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened during that is the priests ended up getting 6 months in jail time and like 3 years of probation. The parents were charged with the crime too, but they were not given jail time because they were the courts.
They were going under
the courts had assumed that they had already went through enough trauma. The trial started on March 30th of 1978 in the district court and drew intense interest. Doctors testified that Michael was not possessed, stating that the manifestations of demonic possession were a psychological effect of her strict religious upbringing as well as her epilepsy, which is what we were just talking about. You know, about how you have these families that are very strict and very devout Christians. A lot of times they will see things that they deem as possession, you know, and I get why they do that. I can understand that. I mean, when
medical intervention is not working and you're already religious,
right,
you're going to go to what you think is going to help.
Yeah. During the trial, the defense played tapes recorded at the exorcism sessions, sometimes featuring what was claimed to be demons arguing to assert their claim that Annalise was possessed. Both priests claim that the demons identified themselves as Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Belial, Legion, even Adolf Hitler, and Nero, among some others. But Annalise was finally freed of demonic possession resulting from the exorcism just before her death, what they claim. So we told you that they ended up serving some jail time. The parents, were put on probation. Well, there was some interest years and years later that they had claimed that if she truly was possessed and she went to the grave with these demons still being inside her, that her body would not decay.
Right.
So they had her body exhumed. So, and I'm just going to read through this real quick. They said after the trial, Annalise's parents asked the authorities for permission to exhume the remains of their daughter because she had been buried in undue hurry in a cheap coffin. Almost 2 years after the burial, on the 25th of February, 1978, her remains were replaced in a new oak coffin lined with tin. The official reports state that the body bore signs consistent with deterioration of a corpse of that age. The family and the priests were discouraged from viewing Annalise's remains. Father Renz later stated that he had been prevented from entering the mortuary, and Annalise's gravesite remains a pilgrimage site. So people all over the world go to pray at her gravesite still today. And this was, in the 60s when this happened.
See, my thing is why would you go pray at, I mean, I guess
you're praying for her.
Okay.
For her.
Okay. Okay.
So I did kind of think this was interesting because we talk about how it's so hard to get approval from the Vatican for exorcisms and stuff. In this particular case, the number of officially sanctioned exorcisms decreased in Germany following the ordeal, despite Pope Benedict XVI's support for wider use of the practice as compared to that of his predecessor, Pope John Paul II, who in 1999 tightened the rules to permit only rare cases for exorcisms. So Pope John Paul II, had passed, and his predecessor kind of reinstated it.
Yeah, man, it's this stuff is all interesting to me because, like I said, it all goes to me. It's like it's not necessarily I don't think it's really a religious thing as much as a possession is a demon for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people's
and it could be any kind of
that's what
people talk about alcoholics having demons.
Right.
I mean that's I'm chasing a demon or whatever, you know.
Right.
And
there's actually a really cool clothing company called Demons Behind Me, and it's about that kind of stuff. But
right.
they make really cool fucking like flannel shirts and like hats and shit.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
cool. Hell
Called
yeah.
My Demons Behind Me or Demons Behind Me.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. They make some good shit. But anyways, like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily has to be what I guess what I'm trying to say is the definition of a demon can be different for everyone.
Right. It sure could be.
Sure
could be.
And like, I don't think you need to put, or you can, or you cannot. I don't think you have to put a religious connotation on it.
Right.
It can be a lot of things, and the main thing that I see out of this is that it's usually people who are in a weak state of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Which would explain her. She had grown up in this religious family, probably the same thing with this guy Lieben.
Yeah.
Well,
back then, you got to imagine everyone back then was.
Everybody was scared to death of the devil.
And my thing is like, just if you need help out there, get help.
Absolutely.
No matter what it is, drugs, alcohol, depression, anything like that, just get some help, call somebody, talk to somebody.
Don't go through it alone.
Yeah. But my thing is also what I want to say with this is build yourself up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Don't talk down on yourself. If you want to try harder. Like, just.
It's hard. Depression is a terrible thing.
Yeah, trust me, I know. I see.
You just, it's hard to tell somebody that, buck up, because I mean, it's.
Yeah, pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
It's a hard thing, and it affects people so differently.
But you can.
But you can. There is help out there.
And there's people there.
You don't have to go through this alone.
And
if you're thinking about hurting yourself, call the suicide hotline.
Right.
I mean, reach out to somebody, anybody. Your life is so precious that
it's crazy. Honestly, like, it sounds funny. I find myself talking less and less with people that I've known my whole life, and finding comfort in talking to other people that like when we go to the convention, talking to people who maybe you just need a change of scenery, a change of people around you, and I think I find myself having more comfort talking to people that we talk to,
right,
that are into the same things as us, that like just, they want to, there's more to life. And
absolutely,
that's what matters, guys. This is a really good episode with these two cases.
I do want to add some new, fairly recent stuff on this Annalise Mitchell case. And this is just kind of an oddity thing, but on June 6th of 2013, a fire engulfed the house where Annalise had lived. Although the local police determined that it was a case of arson, some locals attribute the fire to the exorcism case. Now, you got to look at that, I mean, if people find out where the house is,
right, someone's going to be like, fuck this place.
Look at Zach Baggins, he destroyed the demon house.
Right.
So, you got to take that for what it is, but it is very interesting that just happened, 10 years ago.
Right.
So,
yeah, these are two great stories.
And on June 6th, 6/6.
Oh shit. So we next week, our next episode we're going to drop is going to be of some movies. So I already know one we're definitely going to talk about, and it's a newer one, but we'll dive deep into that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But anyways, guys,
I think I just pre-ordered that too.
So, guys, that is the episode for tonight. It was a good one, a good sequel to our possession episode. One more episode to do on that, and then we're going to talk about some movies, some extras of movies, possession movies. And then I think I just set up a special guest for the episode after that. So
nice.
So we're going to work on all that, guys.
Yes.
again, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Let everyone talk. Tell them about it. Just go and click the button. That's all you got to do.
All you got to do is click a button.
It helps us out tremendously, guys. And send us some emails, some comments on the page, Facebook page.
Go over to our Facebook page. It's super easy. It's facebook.com/horrorfam. That's HORRORFAM. Go over there, leave us some comments. Tell us what you want to hear.
Yep, and tell us what episode you think will be cool. Give us some suggestions on people you want us to come on the show. We will contact them.
Yep.
All that good stuff, guys. We are trying to push this to the next level for you guys, and good stuff coming down. So we love you, Horror Fam. Thank you for your support as always. But more importantly, as always, until next time, keep it creepy.